look, because they're kind of the success story for wind turbines around here.
But
Because the turbines are on private property.
Right.
The owners are getting a royalty. They're practically getting free electricity.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is when they say they're totally green, when one wind turbine takes about, I think it's almost 1,500 pounds of copper to make the turbine.
Yeah.
Where does the copper come from? We have to mine the copper. Copper is one of the dirtiest minings that we do.
Yeah.
So how green is that we're pulling all this copper out to make these turbines? It kind of just goes in a circle is what it goes. And then plus, they subsidize so many of them. A lot of the ones up in northern Vermont are all subsidized and big companies that are putting them in. I personally don't like the way they look. I mean, I moved to Vermont because I love Vermont. I love the mountains. I love everything. And to me, a bunch of wind turbines on top of a mountain just takes away the aesthetics of Vermont. And that's something that people are drawn to here. There are alternative energies that we have to look at. We're not going to stop using oil. It's not going to happen overnight. We're not all of a sudden going to say, we're not driving anymore. You drove here. I drove here. We're going to continue burning it. Let's become more self-sufficient so that we don't have to import so much. The Keystone Pipeline, nobody wants to do it. They're worried it's dirty, it's going to ruin the environment. We're still moving the crude oil, and we're moving by train. Train, I think, would be much more dangerous because it's moving than a pipeline would be. So let's put the pipelines in. Let's try not to have to import so much oil, and every time that there's a problem in the Middle East, our prices go up. Look at them going up right now. They're back up there. I bet you before the end of the summer, we'll see $4 a gallon for fuel. If we had more control over it in our country on how much we have to import, it wouldn't matter what they did over there. We'd be able to take care of ourselves. But we still have to continue looking at alternate sources before we shut everything down. It's just like they're trying to say, well, we're going to stop the coal because coal is dirty. It probably is dirty. It's gotten much cleaner in the last 10, 20 years. But we're still getting 30% of our power for the entire country from coal. Do you just shut that switch off? Does that mean you don't have power for, 30% of the day you don't have power? How do they decide where the power is going to go if you don't have enough being made? Vermont Yankee, we're shutting down. There's all concerns with that. Where's the power going to come from? Before we start shutting all these things down to try to, save the environment as much as we're trying, we have to have alternatives because you can't just stop, because that will hurt our economy even more. If companies all of a sudden are paying, 3 times the amount for their electricity, where do their profits go? How do they grow? How do they hire people? They can't.
Would you support an America First policy on energy production? A lot of that coal that we're digging up and a lot of the oil that we're still producing is going to China and India. Would you make it a priority to say, hey, keep it here first, guys?
Oh, sure. I would definitely support something like that. Keep it here and sell it to, keep it in our country so we don't have to get concerned with all the fluctuations. And a lot of it is the speculators and how they buy it. That drives up the price too, through speculation. Yeah. And that's something that has to be looked at. Do I have the answer exactly to that? No. But I mean, the speculators are what really drives up a lot of the prices.
Yes.
But that also comes back from what's going on in the Middle East.
Yeah, well, you've talked to Sean Cota, I assume, about this. About speculation.
I haven't that much, but no.
Yeah, well, you ought to. He's probably the expert we have around here.
Yeah.
And he's said on a number of occasions that we controlled speculation, we got rid of that, we would knock a dollar a gallon off the price of gas. And so would you support that kind of thing?
Oh, sure. Something to keep the fuel in there. Why ship it out? I mean, I know they're pushing to try to ship it out, saying it's going to make more money for the companies and whatnot, and then they can explore more. But keeping it in the United States would make common sense to me. I would see no reason why they could ship it overseas cheaper and sell it for than leaving it right here where they didn't have to ship it. Coal, of course, on the other hand, China's going to continue burning the coal no matter what. But I think our coal plants, we're going to have to keep them open for the foreseeable future. I don't see them closing right down because we have not gotten that far into finding alternatives. Until we can find those alternatives and a way to do it, there's no way we can just stop. the country just can't survive on it. And the same with like solar power. I mean, solar power is a good idea too, and that's another one of those environmental things that they talk. I guess it's called rare earth that they use to make them, and most of that is being mined over in China, but it's creating a environmental disaster over there. But over here, we've got the clean, shiny black tubes on our roof, and they're creating electricity. Well, look at the big picture. Look at it all the way around. While you're importing it all from over there, you're destroying one side of the world in order to take care of this. We need to invest in finding alternatives out there for energy. They're out there. Invest in that. I wouldn't mind spending money on something like that, because that's going to help our country in the long run.
I see. How are we doing on time, by the way?
I got 5 minutes. It's 4 minutes.
Wow, that went fast, didn't it? Well, since we've only got about 4 minutes left, why don't just wrap it up and give us the whole purpose of your candidacy and what you'd do for the state of Vermont if you managed to win in November?
Well, not manage to win, when I win in November.
All right, well, of course.
Okay.
See, I've run a campaign myself.
See,
I know you've got to say it right.
When I win in November, first off, I'm going to be accountable to the people of the state of Vermont. Those are the people that are going to send me there. Those are the people that I work for. I think that's what's happened with too many of our candidates is they get elected, they go to Washington, and you don't see them anymore, or you see them very infrequently, and they don't listen to you. I write letters all the time to our congressmen and senators and everything, and I know they're busy, and I know they can't sit there and handwrite each and every one of us back. But Vermont's a small state. We have, 630,000 people roughly in our state. They should be able to be accountable to us. They should be able to get back in touch with us. When I send a couple emails, and I don't hear anything for months and months on end, and then all of a sudden you hear something long after the situation that I was addressing is gone, it doesn't make any sense. You've got to be accountable to the people. Now, with the way things are set up now, I mean, I don't know exactly how much time they actually spend in Washington. It seems like they're always on trips all over the place. I think one of the main things you have to do is be accountable to the people that put you there. Do what you can for the state of Vermont, but also realize you're working for the country as a whole. You're trying to keep the country solvent. You're trying to make the country the best country in the world again. That's what we're trying to do. And that would be my main goal. Let's bring the country around. Let's create our economy and grow it. Let's do away with our debt so that we're more solvent, and grow our energy and find alternatives so that we can slowly get off of oil. But it's going to be a long term.
Okay. Well, the time has just flown right by here. I guess we may be coming back if you want to talk a little bit more.
Sure.
I would hope
be
so.
happy to come back.
Okay. Well, my name is Steve Seitz, and we have been talking with Mark Donka, Republican candidate for the U.S. House of Representatives in Vermont. Thanks for listening to us, and we'll be back with another conversation sometime.